I remember back in late 2020, which was, a very challenging time of my life. I didn't really feel like doing things that were important to me. My podcast, I remember just like not wanting to show up to do episodes, right? Things felt bland or bleak. Um, I was just going through a really rough time, right? And now that I look at it, because what I'm going through now is, I would say, correspondent to all of that, which is really learning to bring all of my focus back to myself. It's important to focus on other people, of course, as needed. But something that I've learned about myself is how far outside of myself my focus has been. It's kind of like, a person's main focus is usually meant to be on themselves, right? They take care of themselves and then they take care of other people as needed, as possible, right? And of course in a healthy way, which would be boundaried, right? And so, the interesting thing about all of this is that for far too long, my focus has been very far outside of myself. I've been very tuned in to everyone else, right? And very not tuned into myself. And this has a lot to do with self-care, because when you learn to put everyone else first before you, and to not even put yourself last at that case, you really mess yourself up, right? So when you never learned that self-care comes first, you have a tendency to, like myself, because I have years of experience with this, you have a tendency to do for everyone else, right? But then you neglect yourself, right? And it sucks to live that way, because it's not a self-loving way to live. It's the exact opposite, actually. The healthy way is to learn to put yourself first, to put your own self-care first, and then whatever it is that you can do for other people, do that, right? But, so you learned to externalize your focus and tune into everyone else to feel a sense of safety, right? So you go out and do everything for everyone else, and you learn to live for everyone else. And then your sense of self becomes twisted, because the validation and approval that comes with doing all these things for everyone else, it's a high, right? And you base your sense of identity around that. And then you neglect yourself. You don't put yourself first. You don't take care of your own needs, your own wants. You actually start to lose yourself. Losing the feeling, the experience of losing yourself is a terrifying fucking thing. I have lost myself in relationships. I have neglected my own needs, doing things that I don't want to do simply so that I won't be alone. I've done a lot of that throughout my entire life. And, just like not even taking into consideration self-care, right? Self-care might be writing, it might be dancing, it might be whatever a person likes. I have spent far too many years of my life not looking at what it is that I'm about to do and being like, wait a second, I don't want to do that. So why would I, or why should I do something that I don't want to do? Now, there's a fine line, of course. Like, if you need to wash the dishes, wash the dishes. If you need to do laundry, do laundry. If you need to vacuum the carpet, vacuum the carpet. If you need to clean, you need to clean. And the other thing, too, is that these things actually make you feel good, because it's a matter of, just like, all right, I got that done, wonderful, now I have clean clothes. Got that done, wonderful, now I have clean dishes and everything. But codependents, people pleasers, they learn to neglect themselves. They learn to neglect their own wants and needs. they either put themselves last or they don't even put themselves at all. Their sense of self is totally wrapped up in other people's perceptions and everything. And that's usually what happens when somebody doesn't learn, or that's what happens when, when somebody doesn't learn that self-care comes first. And it always does, you know, like, there's really nothing a person can do for other people if they haven't done what they need to do for themselves. And I've lived the exact opposite way for a majority of my life. And so now, as I'm healing and as I'm learning about, like, okay, like, just because this is it's not only that, right? The other thing about self-care and why it can be challenging for somebody to fulfill for themselves is because of that external focus, right? Being tuned into everyone else, right? That's what happens. And so, when they are tuned into everyone else and they feel like they can't be okay if other people are not okay, and the other people are not okay, so they definitely can't be okay, so they can't even focus on themselves. Their focus is externalized and distracted, right? They're like, I can't do the things that I need to for myself until I know that this other person's okay. It's the hypervigilance. I'm pretty sure that that's how it works, but it's just like it's the constant checking of texts, of calling, of wondering, of the mind running and racing at 1,000,000 miles per hour because you don't know what's going on with somebody else. And so therefore you spend all of your time and energy focused externally onto that person or those people, and you neglect yourself. And that is how somebody learns to not put themselves first. And so what I've learned, specifically in my case, I don't know if this is true for everyone, and it's actually, my experience of it is challenging, but taking that focus that I would have into everyone else and bringing it back to myself. The amount of times that I've done yoga and been dissociated while doing yoga, journaled and been dissociated while journaling, making art and been dissociated while I'm making art. Why? Because my mind is somewhere else. My mind is focused on what are these other people doing? What are they thinking? Are they okay? Like this, that, and the other. And it also sucks, by the way, when people don't provide reassurance. I know how important reassurance is in terms of relationship and structure and health and all that stuff, and just overall peace of mind. There are multiple things that kind of like contribute to having the ability to like actually show up for yourself and do self-care, which is an act of self-love. If everything is perceived as and seemingly not okay, you're going to have a very hard time focusing on doing things for yourself. And it's also probably because you learned that you couldn't be okay if everyone else was not okay at some point in childhood. And with that, you learned that you actually could not focus on yourself and you could not do the things for yourself that you know that you need to do and that you want to do, right? It really sucks to have focus be so externalized and like not be able to just like totally focus on the breath and like be present with whatever it is that I'm doing. I've plenty of years of experience with that. And the other thing too, self-care kind of feels I almost said selfless. It kind of almost feels selfish because I've kind of been guilted into believing that it's selfish not to put other people first or to do a lot of things for other people, right? That it's just like it's wild. And so I'm really doing the best that I can to just like deconstruct those beliefs and everything. And just like see it for what it is, I've felt drastically better about myself and about life when I do put myself first and when I actually do take care of myself. It is an act of self-love. And, being so externally tuned into everyone else, you're just putting your energy out there. Just bring it back to the self, That's what I tell myself. It's like, there's hardly anything that you can control outside of you, right? You can control yourself, your mood, all that stuff. So just bring your focus and your energy, your awareness back to yourself. And it's actually wild how that transforms the dynamic of the experience of life. And this is me being vulnerable, you know. I'm a dude. I'm a human. I I would argue that I'm doing what's required. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing the best that I can, but to just choose differently, you know, to bring myself back to myself and to be present while I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing and not worried about whatever's going on with everyone else.